Welcome to the Oh Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
Good to see you tonight, Dan.
Hey, man. We're back March 31st, 2021, and we're reviewing Godzilla versus Kong. Let's get ready to rumble.
Rumble.
So it's Godzilla versus Kong, which just came out today by the time you hear this episode.
It's Godzilla versus Kong?
It's Godzilla versus Kong.
I watched the Zack Snyder Godzilla versus Flash.
Sorry. No, wrong movie, wrong film.
All right, I'll remember it.
That's a different. This is the Monsterverse. That's the DC universe. You got them.
That's right.
They're
I got
intermingled.
Yeah.
If you want, it might not be a bad idea just to talk about Justice League some more. How about we do that?
No, we're done.
So
we are done.
All right. So let me get the title out. Godzilla versus Kong. That's what we're reviewing tonight. Directed by Adam Wingard. I don't know. He hasn't directed any of the previous, because this is technically a sequel to Godzilla King of the Monsters, which came out a couple of years ago, and then Kong Skull
I'll set
Island.
it up if you want.
I'm getting
I'll
there.
set it up if you
I'm
want.
getting there.
Oh, okay.
Folks,
I didn't mean to
every
jump on
week,
you.
Look,
Every week I have to
I
deal
don't
with
get
this.
paid
You should
enough
see
as
what
an
it's
editor.
like off. You should see what it's like when we're not on camera.
I do
The
not
abuse.
I
It's
don't get-
abuse.
I don't get paid an editor's salary, but I got to tell you, I put in the hours.
Abuse.
Okay,
Just
but
abuse.
before we get to that, let's get the business out of the way. You guys know the drill. For those that aren't following us, though, make sure that you do. And the easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. That's ohbpodcast.com. You get access to everything Oh Brother there, all of our social media, all the podcast episodes. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel there and like our videos out there. We've got a blog that we put out. There's film reviews on the website. So it's chock full of all things Oh Brother. All right. So yeah, as per usual, go ahead and give us the setup here.
Okay, let's go back a little ways and start with the original Godzilla. This is
Nice.
a 1933. Actually, this isn't the first one. I'm sorry. I just made a huge mistake. It's King Kong. 1933, black and white. Fay Wray became famous from this movie. I don't even know really the other actors' names. I know Fay Wray. She was Kong's. Oh yeah, you've got it right there. That's
It's right
good.
on the shelf. Yeah.
Then that was in 1933, and there was a few Kong versus this, King Kong versus that. Then we got Godzilla. This is the wonderful Criterion Collection, Godzilla from it was actually 1954 was made. It was Americanized, when they put the subtitles in and
Right.
everything and overdubbed it in 1956.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so
You got about
then-
60 years. Get us up to
yeah, then we
2021.
go way ahead to Peter Jackson, who did a
2005.
remake. Now it's under Universal control at this
Mhm.
point. It's very famous in the parks.
Right.
You and I,
Well, we were
love
just talking
Kong.
about Universal Studios, yeah, and the old
Yes.
Confrontation ride that was out there.
yeah, we loved it.
Yeah.
It was their most popular ride,
Yep.
and they ripped it apart. And I think it's now something to do with this Kong Skull Island. So Kong Skull Island comes out, and there was a tease that this was part of a Monsterverse, which you brought up earlier.
Right.
This was the first film in the Monsterverse called Kong Skull Island. Unfortunately, no one survived. I wanted to go back and watch this. I just didn't have time.
Well, that's not true. That's not true.
Oh, did people survive from
Yeah,
this?
and so I'm glad you brought this up, because I was going to mention this, because
Good.
I think basically what you have there is, because the ending of Kong Skull Island, because I did go back and watch it.
I wanted to.
Yeah, the ending of that sets up this film that we're going to talk about now. It totally
Okay.
sets it up. It actually ends with the famous Godzilla howl, but that I think what you had is you had Tom, what is it? Thomas Hiddleston.
Tom, yes, Tom
and
Hiddleston
and you had
was
Brie Larson,
Loki.
and you
Right.
got Brie Larson, Captain Marvel. So I'm thinking, this is
Samuel L.
20,
Jackson.
this is
Samuel
20,
L. Jackson.
right. There's a lot of Avenger references. So you have those two they were the last two characters shown in the end of that film. And but
Okay.
now that was set. When was Kong Skull Island set though?
It's 50 years ago.
Yeah, it was set like in the 40s or whatever, right?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
right. So, well, there's your answer to that. Why they wouldn't be in this one? Because this is like,
Right.
this is actually, it's like 2009 or something.
Yeah.
At least at the big, not that movie you're talking. We're talking about Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh,
At least in the
okay.
beginning of the film, there's a few references on some TV monitors that it's 2009.
Yeah. And I'm not sure of the timeline. But then after that, and I'm not even going to bring out because I think I chucked it every year. Because my collection is so vast, which is ridiculous. I have to chuck about 100 movies a year. I literally bring them to the library, I try to give them away. Nobody wants them. I don't know why. But Godzilla got nixed. I'm talking about the Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
Yes.
But we don't even have to think about that because that's not part of this universe anyways.
Right.
So then Godzilla comes out, this
3D
version, which is just called Godzilla. Then after that comes another Godzilla movie in 2017, which was, the title is
King of the Monsters.
You tell me because I don't have it.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
I saw that in the theater.
I do not have.
I saw it in the theater.
I don't have it.
Okay.
I've never seen it because I was advised not to by a family member.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I'd forgotten that. And that family member is me.
Is him.
Right. That's right. That's right.
The other part of Oh Brother said, I was going to see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chump. And, it was a big action movie. And you said, don't, just like I've never seen Aquaman.
Yeah.
Because of, thankfully your recommendation.
I was close to walking out of that film, and I've only walked out of.
Yeah, you told me that.
A couple of films in
Didn't
my
you
lifetime.
walk out of Aquaman?
No, I should have.
Or no?
I should have. Yeah, no.
Because I remember you saying that. I remember with Godzilla, if you told me you were ready to walk out, and I've walked out of movies before, I knew when we get to that point,
yeah,
it's bad.
It's real bad. Yeah. So that's funny. You jog my memory there. Now, as you probably did when I was growing up in the mid to late 70s, as I was, a young kid, yes. The Creature double feature. You remember that on TV 38 up there in Boston?
Yes.
I loved Creature double feature. It was on like Saturday mornings, and a lot of the Ishiro Honda films, of course, all the Godzilla classics. There you go, right there.
Hello, and welcome to the Creature double feature. This afternoon, find out who will be the victor when vicious monsters engage in a fierce and bloody battle in Godzilla's Revenge. Then at 2:30, a world-famous diamond detective encounters a gigantic jellyfish in Dagora, the space monster.
Absolutely.
Godzilla versus Smog Monster.
Now, here's one I bet you don't have.
What
and if you don't, you got to have it. And I think I can get it on digital, which I don't own it yet, which is terrible. This was my favorite of all the films. It was The War of the Gargantuans. Do you remember this film?
I don't have it, but I remember it.
It used to scare the bejesus out of me.
Really?
To quote the late, great John Candy. Yeah, it used to scare the crap out of me. Of course, I watch it now. It's a little silly, but
right.
But that's an Ishiro Honda film as well. And so, but I was a big Godzilla guy. at that time. Well, I was a young boy, but but I was really into those.
I knew you knew the Godzilla classics better than I. I can remember back then I was busy and I would be going out of the house and you'd be sitting in front of the TV, the one TV
Eating my
in
Fruit
the
Loops.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching Godzilla in black and white because that's all we had.
Yeah. I used to just you know, gorge on those films. It was just
And they were on
part
every
of the routine.
Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Every
Yeah.
Saturday there was. It seemed like they had a never-ending supply.
Right.
I think we were just rewatching them. But
Yeah.
the one I remember more than any is Godzilla versus the Smog
Oh,
Monster.
I thought you were going
I
to say
don't know
Mothra.
why.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mothra is big for most people. But
Yeah.
I came into this. I'm watching. It just came out today.
Right.
So to give
This
people an idea, it's like 7 o'clock.
this is unusual for you. Normally, this is my
Very
routine.
unusual.
This is my routine.
I hate this.
Exactly. So this will be
I
interesting.
hate this. I
Yeah.
just watched it.
Right.
And normally all the movies I always watch at night.
Mhm.
I hardly ever watch a movie during the day. I don't know why. Something about it being dark out. I don't know. So this is very atypical for me because I'm used to watching it at night. Then I sleep on it. I think about it, maybe watch back some scenes, do some reading, and then we do the podcast. So I'm doing the podcast right after seeing it. And I felt odd going in because I missed the last movie because it was horrible, according to you. And I
Right.
assume that is correct. One thing else before we get into it is I want to point out one weird kind of thing. This movie, the Peter Jackson movie, which was supposed to be the big King Kong movie,
Mhm.
Kyle
Chandler.
what's his Kyle Chandler.
He's in that
who's
as a
in the
different
new
character.
movie,
Right. And
is a
he's in,
totally different person.
that's
And he's
right.
like the
That's right.
hero
Yeah.
of this King Kong.
That's right. And,
So I
and
think that was weird.
there was another, he was also in The Midnight Sky with George Clooney, which we did an
That's right.
episode on back when we
He's been,
reviewed.
he's a bunch. Friday
in a lot
Night
of stuff.
Lights on
Yeah.
TV was his big breakout.
And you know,
role.
so this also stars Millie Bobby Brown, who's in the other
From Stranger
Godzilla
Things.
film and from Stranger
Right.
Things, of course. And then Alexander Skarsgard,
Skarsgård,
which you
And
get
which-
some redemption here because
Okay,
he is Bill Skarsgård's brother.
So he's the brother of
It.
Clown.
That's right.
The Skarsgård.
But no
that's
relation to Peter Sarsgaard. We made that. We made
Peter
that.
Sarsgaard.
Sarsgaard, Stellan Skarsgård. There's so many of those guys.
There's
But
so
this is a
many, yeah.
legitimate connection we have now.
It's the only time we get to pirate out is when we have the Skarsgård.
And
or
Sarsgaard. And
Sarsgaard.
interestingly enough, they were all in the film Footloose with Kevin Bacon. Now that's a whole. All right, so let's get into this. Or are we
Okay.
good? All right, we got the
Yeah,
setup.
we're good.
So
that's the setup.
I mean, this we don't really need to set it up or give a synopsis. It's it's a battle of the Titans, but I wasn't sure. They should have called it Godzilla versus Child Neglect. Is what I thought might have been a more appropriate title.
That would be better on
I
both
mean,
sides.
It's to give go ahead and give us a quick little synopsis as
so-
best you can, coming fresh off it.
Yeah, it opens up with
Just so they
with
have a sense of
Kong.
the characters for those who haven't seen it already. By the time they hear this,
It opens up with Kong, who's on Skull Island, where we last saw him in
Right.
Kong Skull Island.
Right.
And he's older now. He's like 50 years older. And apparently he's grown 200 feet.
Can I comment
was
on
a-
this? Let me comment
Yeah.
on this too,
Go ahead.
because, and I'm not gonna pull any punches or delay my assessment of this film, but it's such a right from the get go. Because look, I can embrace you have to embrace these films for what they are, right? You're not
Right.
going in going, oh, this is the next, Citizen Kane.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
However, Kong Skull Island, which I believe we both thought was a decent flick. I think
I
we
liked
both
it. I thought I
liked
was
it.
entertained by it.
Exactly. But the mistake here was, and it happened right off the jump, is it was like making fun of itself, and it was so corny. So you've got the opening sequence is, as you said, we find the king on Skull Island, and we're watching him go through his morning routine, right? So
We don't need to see that.
he's getting showered. Here's where this is 3 seconds into it. He scratches his ape behind,
Yep.
and I was done.
I had the exact same reaction.
And
That's
I
so
checked out.
funny.
And I checked out.
I had the same reaction.
I thought
You
you
know
don't
what's
need
weird?
to do that. It's silly.
I had to restart the movie. I started the movie and I went to get a drink, and I realized I came back and it was the dueling, it was the digital dueling. Here's who Godzilla killed, here's who King Kong killed. Godzilla kills this one, and I said, I think I missed something. And it was just a fluke. I rewind and I get that sequence you're just talking about. I'm like, why did I rewind it? If
Yeah, I
they
did.
opened with that,
Right.
it would have been better.
Yeah.
Better. I'm not saying good.
It was wow. So right from the get go, I'm like, okay, that's how they're going to play it, and that was repeated more than once throughout the film. You talk about, remember we just did an episode on Raya and the Last Dragon, and one of your beefs with it, which I ultimately agreed with. It was very convoluted, too many characters, too many locations, too many. I felt the same way with this. There's just like too much going on, too many characters I've got to keep track of, things that didn't make sense, so that was a bit tough to
One
follow as
thing they
well.
promised about this, when
Yeah.
this whole Monsterverse started, it they said right from the jump it was leading to King Kong versus Godzilla, which got monster people excited. And they said this time, because they fought before, people are going to forget this, but way back in the black and whites, there was a King Kong versus Godzilla.
Mhm.
And this time, is it Godzilla versus King Kong?
Yeah, Godzilla versus
However,
Kong.
they flipped the names, but they
Right.
promised us a winner. They promised us there would be one Titan walking away.
And folks
I'm
will
not
have
gonna
to, we're not going to spoil, but they'll have to
right.
watch
You're gonna
to
have to
see
decide if
who
that's
who
true.
comes out victorious. Yeah.
Right.
Now, so he's on Skull Island, but he's in a biodome now, right? Kong
Right.
is
We
actually
find that
being,
out. He like you said, the first scene after he's scratching his behind is he comes across this little girl who
yeah.
her mother negligently turns away and she runs down to go see Kong.
Why is this little girl on Skull Island at all? What are
I
we
don't
doing?
know.
What are we doing here?
And
Just
why is she loosed and have free reign of wherever Kong is?
now, this young girl is deaf, and you quickly discover that she is able to communicate with Kong. That's the whole
Yeah,
relationship there.
right. But
Not
to
sure that
see
justifies the neglect, but
no, and
okay.
to see the first scene, this little girl holding she made a little dolly of Kong,
Right.
and his big giant face leans over to look at her. I'm like, just eat her for a snack. That's what he would do in real life.
Yeah, we would
But
assume. It's something about little kids and leading women. Apparently, he doesn't have an issue with, because we do get well, we don't really get one of those scenes in this. We did in Skull Island. We get the Jessica Lange sort of
yeah, Jessica
sequence.
Lange, that was a very, and that was 75 with Jeff Bridges as like the hero.
Yeah.
And that scene is very controversial in 75. It's controversial today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, he climbed the Twin Towers in the movie, not the Empire State Building, which is the famous locale that Kong
Right.
climbs in the
Right.
original. And so you never see that movie anymore
Yeah.
with Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges because of 9/11 and the whole thing. People say it's in bad taste. And,
Yeah.
when a movie's made before that tragedy, I think it's dumb to edit out something because of that. This is the way the world was.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's
Yeah,
so
but
iconic in so many films. What are you
I
going to
didn't get
do?
very far with my synopsis, but it starts with Kong on Skull Island,
Right.
and then we cut
But you
to
realize that he's in a biodome. So he's basically
correct,
being held captive.
right, and
Right.
he's not happy about that.
No, but they also don't want him running loose because then Godzilla's going to come for him.
Exactly,
Right.
which I didn't
Okay.
know that
And
was a thing
apparently Godzilla's on vacation in my neck of the woods. He's up in Northwest
in
Florida,
Florida,
apparently, hanging out in
killing
Pensacola.
everybody.
Right.
And normally Godzilla is friendly to humans. He fights Mothra and the smog monster and whoever else, but now he's just torching Florida
And so
for whatever reason.
in like so many of these movies, there's this other subplot going on with this greedy corporate entity called Apex, right? And
Mhm.
what you find out is they are basically like all of a sudden it became the movie Pacific Rim at one point where you've got this what do they call it? The Mecha Godzilla. You have this, they're
Correct.
creating their own Godzilla
Being
machine
controlled
being
by a
controlled.
human
Right,
mind.
right, like virtual reality
Have
Godzilla.
we said enough?
I think
Have we
we,
said
I think we
enough?
have. I think we. You said earlier you went to get a drink at one point. I had a drink in my hand while I was watching this, and I should have just fed it directly into my bloodstream. But yeah, okay. Here's another one. And again, yeah, we didn't even.
There's
People
so
already know
many.
what we think of this film, but
Right.
if you need any more other than the opening scene I mentioned with him scratching his behind, which was and it's playing to like some 70s light ballad, which was really bizarre. There's a
Yep.
scene where this isn't giving anything away. There's a scene where apparently, Kong can feel pain occasionally, and he dislocates his Kong shoulder. So what does he do? He pulls a Mel Gibson Lethal Weapon, and puts his shoulder back in its socket by slamming it into some building in Hong Kong. I can't. I have to leave now.
Forget that he killed about, you know, 500
Child
people
neglect
when he
is your
did that.
least problem with this film.
I mean, there was just such
Oh
silly
my
stuff. At
goodness.
one point, they're in Hong Kong, and I've been to Hong Kong 4 times, right? It's not a big place, okay? But if you just happen to be a bad parent and your daughter somehow finds her way to Hong Kong by superfluous reasons, and then you go to Hong Kong, you usually don't spot her right away on the street within
Right.
5 minutes of getting there.
It's
I mean, there's so many
so ludicrous.
stupid. Oh my god!
You made reference, though we said we're not going to give away, the ending, but I will say, folks, there are no winners in this. There's no winners in
No,
watching this film.
the winners are the people who don't watch this movie
That's
because
right.
they're
That's right.
the ones that, you know. Here's the weird thing: when it first starts, when they first show Godzilla, coming through the water with the fin, and then he
Yes.
kind of screams, I thought, this might not be bad. Kong, I had the exact same reactions when they first showed Kong as you did, but okay, I'll forget that
Right.
because we're going to get into this battle. And I thought the CGI was pretty good. Why did they do such stupid things with this story?
Well, I think
Which made
just
no
as
sense.
the CGI in Kong Skull Island was really good. I really thought they
And I
did a
think
great
that's
job
why
there.
we liked it. We were
Right.
surprised because Peter Jackson, when he did it, he used a lot of models, like a lot of it was Naomi Watts was the Fay Ray,
And
Jessica Lange character.
wasn't Andy Serkis Kong?
He was Kong. Yeah,
Right.
he was Kong.
Right.
And of course, he's famous for Planet of the Apes and the trilogies. He's
and Lord of the Rings. He's right.
He's
Gollum. And,
like the king of CGI. He's also a great actor.
Yeah.
Without the CGI, but
Right.
he did a lot of stuff like, there's a scene where she's skating and he's kind of pushing her. I'm talking about the Peter Jackson one with Naomi Watts.
Mhm.
And there's a real hand there. It's kind of like when you get off when you used to get off confrontation, which we were talking
Yes, the
about,
photo op.
you used to go down and you would take a
It's a
picture
great
of
photo op.
yourself in Kong's hand.
It was great.
And
I have that
and
somewhere.
that was this ride was like literally 2 minutes. And I think the
Yeah.
first time we went, it was a soft opening. We waited 2 hours.
That was a long queue.
Very long queue because it kept breaking down.
The nights we would go, but and be able to just walk on was so
Yeah, it
glorious.
was great.
It's
But even
amazing.
that first time, we waited 2 hours, and people, as they were getting off, were clapping because there was something to see this impeccable set
Right.
with Kong. It was
Mhm.
like, holy mackerel. And he
It's
would
amazing.
literally breathe on you and
You
you
smell the
would smell
bananas.
bananas.
Yeah.
It was just, it
Yeah.
was just wild.
This
This
movie made me go
has no redeeming
bananas.
qualities.
No, it
No
really doesn't.
redeeming qualities.
And they took what was a decent film in Skull Island and just ruined it. I mean, again, you're going in accepting this at face value, but you don't need to make a mockery out of it with these little silly, the shoulder thing and the
Right.
and again, the opening sequence was just ridiculous. One of the most, maybe the only redeeming thing is that there was a podcast reference throughout, the Titan Truth podcast.
Although
Give
I
a
thought
shout
that
out to
was
the Titan
silly.
Truth podcast.
Yeah.
But that's part of the subplot with this guy that works at Apex. He's like a
Correct.
second level engineer, and he's trying to expose whatever it is they're working
Right.
on, which you
Right.
find out later in the film. So
Was
yeah,
that from the last film? I know
No.
Millie Bobby Brown was in the last film,
she was in the Godzilla film. Yeah.
and
But not-
somehow she was the one who was friendly with Godzilla, right?
Yeah, her and her father. It's a whole
And
again.
Vera Farmiga was in it,
That's right.
and I didn't see it, so I don't know.
Yeah, and
Like, what was
and you
pulled
miss
in from that
you
movie?
miss nothing. But you were talking about the CGI, and I think I'd rather see the Ishiro Honda 1964 Godzilla. There's
Yeah.
something they just can't seem to get that right in these newer films with Godzilla. Kong, on the other hand, I still in this one thought it was very solid. There was a few times it was just silly and over the top with this whole other subplot of going into Hollow Earth, and we won't bore you with that. But the CGI with Kong, I thought was decent, but with Godzilla, I don't know. I want it to
Wasn't
be better. It's a little,
there was a couple of
I
other
don't
things
know.
that bothered me, and enlighten me if you can, because Skarsgard worked,
yes,
was approached by Apex, the bad guys,
right.
right? And agreed to work with them, but then he turned out to be a good guy. How did that happen?
Well, I don't think he knew exactly what they were up to. I don't think he realized what they were really up to.
I was totally confused by his character.
Yeah, they were sort
A
of
good
using
guy,
him.
a bad guy?
Well, they were manipulating him and using him, and that was another thing though. This company Apex has designed these vehicles that can travel to Hollow Earth, which is a concept that was disproved in the 17th century. But anyways, it was like all of a sudden his character knows how to fly this state-of-the-art spacecraft.
Exactly.
You know,
Because he's a doctor and he wrote a book. He can
and
fly
Millie
this
Bobby
craft.
Brown and this guy that works for Apex, and then I think it was the kid from Deadpool.
It definitely was the
who
kid from,
hasn't gotten any better.
No.
Sorry. That was, again, it's
Deadpool
one
2.
too many. It's one Deadpool too. Yeah, it's one too many characters too. But they end up in
Okay.
some capsule that jettisons them to Hong Kong. It's like a bullet train that goes about 1,000 miles.
You
an
know
hour.
what I thought this was, dude? I thought this was an advertisement for the next Universal thrill ride.
No, you know what it was?
That's what it felt like to me.
It was an advertisement for Monday Night Raw. That's what it
Okay,
was. I mean, I thought at one
please,
point Godzilla was going to slap a chair over Kong's back, a folding chair.
And Vince McMahon
Yeah.
would come out and
Did Kong just blade?
Oh my God!
He
Kong
bladed.
has got a chair.
He's up
holding
on the top
There
rope.
was one scene where Kong is in Hong Kong and he's hanging on what I think it was, no, because it was in Hong Kong. It wasn't
How
in
many
Tokyo.
buildings? How many buildings?
It was exactly like the Empire State
Of
Building.
course it
was. The
was.
shot.
Of course
I
it
mean,
was.
it was so foolish. But
Yeah,
here's
it
another
was
thing.
forced.
Please answer me this. What were the eggs that never got introduced? They got introduced, but that was it. There
Well,
were these Kong eggs or
so didn't
skull eggs.
yeah, so didn't Ghidorah or other Monster Zero, the three-headed, again, famous from the Ishiro Honda films.
He just showed up to get killed.
No, he wasn't even. They saw the skull of it or something in the one room. It never.
Yeah, but Kong ripped him open and started chewing on him.
What?
Didn't he?
Did I miss that?
There was one fight where Kong fought this beast, and then he starts munching on his head, and the girl goes,
No,
that's
no.
gross."
That was just one of the things that was a monster on Hollow Earth. That's all that was. That was just
Oh.
these creatures that were on Hollow Earth. I know what you're talking about, because they had this green blood and
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
no.
what were these eggs that they referenced?
I'm not 100% certain, for the.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
or
Oh,
did you
yeah.
forget
Yeah.
that
For
part?
no,
Okay.
I remember. For the geekdom, they can certainly, reach out to us. At
I mean,
our
I'm
website.
assuming that's for the next movie,
It could be.
which shouldn't get made.
I thought they were referencing those like pterodactyl type things that were
Maybe they were
at the end of in the beginning of this movie actually too. But you're probably right. It's probably setting up the next film. God help us.
It just, God help us, because
God help us all.
this movie's going to probably be the biggest hit since the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Because
And-
overseas, it's already made over 100 million.
all right, I know you can't really say this, but going into this, were you Team Godzilla or Team Kong? Because that's all anybody's talking about. Which side of this did you land on?
Well, for me, Kong's always the best.
Yeah, see now
To
for
me.
me, for me it's Godzilla because of what I spoke about
Well,
at the top
that's
of the
because
episode.
exactly. But see,
Right.
I don't know. Godzilla was always ugly to me, and I couldn't really. It's kind of he always looks different.
Now
That's why I thought this CGI version of Godzilla was about the best it's been.
Yeah.
The Matthew Broderick Godzilla that was not in the movie, basically, and that was the joke. And when Steven Spielberg was faced with that with Jaws, because the electronic shark wouldn't work underwater,
Yeah.
he fixed it by making you think the shark was there by building tension.
That's right.
Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, we saw a footprint. And then finally at the end of the movie, they showed him and it was like, that's
Yeah.
Godzilla?
That's my payoff.
No, I think that's something else.
All right. Well, that's pretty clear again where we're at with this film. So this is a 2 thumbs down from Oh Brother on this film. Now, if you are hardcore, of course you're going to see it no matter what
Right.
is said, and good luck to you. But you can't tell me this is again, Skull Island, decent. King of the Monsters, Godzilla, not good film, but Skull Island was solid. And if you go back and look at the directing in Skull Island, which I will say there was a couple, and when I say a couple, I mean about 2 shots in this film that were pretty good. And I think they were trying to replicate the style of Skull Island, because there was some really nice directorial shots in Skull Island, like overhead shots of the helicopters in formation in slow motion. There was some of that. And I think that's what Wingard tried to do with this, with the musical montages. Only it was goofy. It was like Elvis Presley song, like a love ballad playing over Kong being transported on a ship. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
And in that beginning montage I was talking about, where this is who Godzilla killed, this, we heard John Goodman's voice.
Yes.
Because he was in Skull Island.
He worked for Monarch.
Voices from the other movies. But
and what about Skarsgard's brother that's referenced that we never learn or hear anything about?
I thought who got killed.
Who got killed on a mission that we don't know. He couldn't have been.
I thought he was in the last movie. I thought
that was 50 years ago.
That I missed.
That was 50 years ago.
I missed.
Oh, you mean God? Well, that's Godzilla. It's totally different. It's not different, but I mean, it's not. No, well, maybe I could be wrong. He could have been in that for all I know. I was watching that
I don't
like
know.
this. I
Well,
was,
dude, I went and pulled out the movie. I went to the IM
to see
database
yeah.
to see if that Dr. Lind, I think that was the character's
Yes,
name.
that's right.
How do I
Actually,
know that? I
That's
don't
crazy.
know.
That's crazy.
But I went to look through the characters to see if that was a character. No, it wasn't.
Right. Yeah. Well, there
Yeah.
you go.
And again, don't kill the messenger. We're fans of these goofy movies,
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
We like these silly movies, but this was beyond. This just wasn't. I was so bored about.
I was very
quarters of the way in.
I was bored.
I wanted to go. I wanted to take a nap.
And they introduce, you talk about building tension. Then why do you have Godzilla show up for like 40 minutes into the film when it's a 2-hour film?
I know.
Like, in other words, they
know.
already met each other 40 minutes in. Usually,
Yeah,
usually the pivotal moment in a film is at
It's the
that 60
fight.
minute. Well, it's the 60-minute mark of the film.
Right. But no, they met way, and I had the same thing. I was like, is this going to be like really short?
Yeah, I had to check the time
because
I'm
they're
like,
fighting
okay.
right now,
Right.
and this is the whole movie.
Yeah, that was weird.
So stupid.
All right.
So
Well,
stupid.
there's just like that film. There's no real good way for us to wrap up this this episode, but let's just, for again, for those that are not currently following us, let's put out another request for you guys to follow us at our official website, which is ohb as in brother podcast.com. That's ohbpodcast.com. Find all things Oh Brother there. All our social media, our YouTube channel, you can subscribe there and check out our blog. And we've got another blog coming out here soon, I believe. We'll discuss that one when we get off air. And so Godzilla versus Kong, again, love to get some feedback on our social media after you guys watch this film. Let us know what you think. But this is a no-go from Oh Brother.
No go. In fact, let us know if you skipped this movie, and we'll be very proud of you.
Just tune in to the next Monday Night Raw, and you'll see all you need to see. That's exactly what this
Oh
was.
my God! They're in a steel cage. It's Godzilla versus King Kong at a steel cage showdown.
I would have taken Godzilla versus Mankind. That would have been better than this.
Or Godzilla versus the Big Show, who's not the Big Show anymore.
Or Godzilla versus King Kong Bundy, I would have taken. All right. Well,
I think
what's that? I'm dating myself.
I was gonna say no. They'd have to like revive him.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, listen. Rest in
Billows.
peace. Yeah. Exactly. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for another episode of the Oh Brother podcast. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Skarsgard is no good.
But he
Bye,
is related
everyone.
to Bill Skarsgard.
Go watch it. That was better. I think.